The economics of Mexico and the United States both have same striking similarities. Both countries are performing well under the Freedom Index, both regionally and in the world placement. Both countries are part of the free trade that allows for the development of enterprises and offers a way to prosperity. In the following report, we will describe both Mexico and the United States of performing partners. We will look at the variety of elements to better understand the differences between Mexico and the United States and offer three suggestions of products to launch in Mexico.
While doing business in Mexico, it's important for the management team to take into consideration how to reduce and minimize the problems that can be associated with employee communication and motivation. It's imperative that two countries and two cultures come together and work cohesively to overcome every obstacle and become a powerhouse, essentially. To do that, we need to make sure that our underlying goals are reviewed, implemented, and talked about quite often so that they're not forgotten. We also need to take into account our asset distribution. And I'm not talking just about material things, I'm talking about skill sets, strengths and weaknesses. What everyone brings to the table needs to be accounted for. We also need to work cohesively to form strong communication practices and strategies. The last thing we need is corruption within our company and the inability to effectively communicate. If we put these things together, we should be able to overcome our obstacles and we will be able to work together cohesively. Hello, can you hear me now? Do you understand me? There's big reasons why communication is key in any business setting and any relationship. But combining cultures between America and Mexico, it's essential that we learn how to communicate effectively. Some things that we do different culturally versus America versus Mexico is our body language can be different and it can be perceived differently. Our voice diction and tone can be different. And also silence. We use silence differently in America than we do in Mexico. So we need to make sure we understand each other and why things are happening and how to read body language in order to be effective. One more thing we need to make certain of is we understand the concept that time is money is an American moral. It's not necessarily a Mexican one. Mexicans use more time as flexibility and they enjoy it more than we do. Sometimes in America, we're rush, 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 go, go, go. And we need to understand that fortifying relationships take time and we use it differently. As a manager, it is crucial to achieve a balance in order for harmony to coexist. Finding a balance between communication and cultural differences will help us create an atmosphere that ideally will encourage workers to work hard, give their best, and it will allow for incentives to equalize needs of both nations in order for a business to thrive. Once we have communication figured out a little bit, then we can start negotiations. And there are four really big things we need to remember when we are merging a company together between America and Mexico. First, relationships are imperative. We have to put in the time and the effort and the aggravation and all of that in order to build trust and respect so that negotiation turns out to be possible. Second, for Mexico, bargaining is natural. We need to remember that the price set is not the price that they're willing to pay, and we are able to bargain. It's a natural, welcomed aspect in Mexico. Third, we have to remember not to take these negotiations personally, that business is business. We can negotiate at noon and sit down and have dinner at 5 as friends. We just need to remember to keep business personal doesn't belong in business. Fourth, we need to remember that unless we're talking to a head of a company or we know we've got the jefe, which is boss in Spanish, that we need to understand that these people may not have the authority to make certain decisions. In America, we kind of use that as an excuse. I don't have the authority to do this. I need to ask. When sometimes really we might. But in Mexico, they may really not have that authority because business structures are different. Finally, it's not over until it's over, meaning sometimes negotiations can seem like they're done, but in Mexico, they still could be waiting for a final offer to see if it beats what we have offered. So we need to remember that final may not be final until money has taken place or a transaction has been started. Once we get these cultural differences worked out, our negotiations will be able to be more effective, they'll go more smoothly, and we'll become more practiced at it. And that will help us make business successful.
Current political situation. Throughout the years, there's been drastic changes in the government rulings that affected the outcome of the exchange rate and the inflation rate in Mexico. For the last 70 years, the PRI, the Institutional Revolutionary Party, has ruled Mexico until just lately in 2012. Andrés Manuel López Obrador won in a landslide victory. He's a famous populist of the Morena Company. He gained a substantial majority of Congress after he promised that he would fight against a large consumption of corruption, namely the drug cartel and other gang-affiliated affiliates for the country. After his post-election support, he helped renew NAFTA, which is a North American Free Trade Agreement, which hopefully is a great signal to the type of government he wants to institute within Mexico. It's definitely a welcoming attitude that will hopefully generate a severe focus to invest much needed time for foreign investment. I think in order for Andrés Obrador to be successful, he will definitely have to prevail over the drug cartels that control most of the populace in the country. Current economic conditions. At times, Mexico has been viewed as a volatile country, a great place with beautiful scenic views to visit, however, not the best place to live. But in the last 2 to 3 years, that focus has shifted to make Mexico into a more stable economic economy. It's coupled with high interest rates, but it has stabilized the GDP, which has led to Mexico's purchasing power being equivalent to about 98% of the world's average. As of May of this year, 2019, the annual growth rate reached 1.30, while the annual inflation rate also increased to 4.4%. However, because of the low interest rate, I believe doing business in Mexico would help attract other investments into Mexico and will hopefully ensure the future of the economy to be more into stability. One of the biggest reasons for this significant change in the currency, as well as the overall stability of the economy, is the oil prices, which has caused a Mexican peso exchange rate versus the US dollar to move so significantly. The peso is the currency in Mexico. It's traded as marked MXN. They use the dollar symbol. However, because of the oil prices, it's definitely lost its original value. Today, I believe the exchange rate in the country right now is close to 15 pesos for every 1 US dollar. It's more famous to trade in US dollars for Mexican pesos, as they're able to have more Mexican pesos for less American currency. I think a significant portion of the Mexican government budget has its sources in oil revenues, in a petroleum company known as Pemex. And I think Andrés Obrador has realized this and hopefully will change its focus into other sorts of investments that would be able to help increase the peso to its original money rhetoric value. Trade and FDI, or foreign direct investment. Because Mexico has changed or shifted its focus to being more a country of stability, and due to its inflation rates being considerably lower compared to other countries, it has shown itself to be a strong nation to consider investing in, and as well as doing business of moving new products in and out throughout the country. One way it's been able to prove this is that it's established free trade agreements with 45 other countries. United States is namely one of them, as well as Canada, Australia, Chile, Malaysia, New Zealand, Brazil, Honduras, and many more other South American and Asian European countries. All these countries are mostly parties of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or known as NAFTA. Usually Mexico has a main trade agreement with Canada and America, or United States of America. And those are the two main countries in which Mexico does trade through, as it is easier for them to trade through it. Their MFN, or most favored nation, was only 6.9%. Mostly it was because they're 13.5 points to their agricultural products, and a 5.8% to non-agricultural products. They do have quite a bit of agricultural products. However, they were still only ranked a little bit lower than most. However, one leading edge to Mexico is that it does have the lowest tariff charged as a percentage of imported goods to a particular nation, unless they're part of a peripheral trade agreement. With these extremely low tariffs and the low inflation rates from the parties of NAFTA, as well as within Mexico, it's definitely has a potential to take finished goods and export them elsewhere, instead of only importing goods to satisfy its needs. Mexico can definitely keep the cost of shipping and other fees and charges, mostly from duty, at a low minimum. And then we'll be able to increase its focus in other financial markets and trade agreements within the NAFTA country parties.
The first product is online clothing. It's for professional customers that want to sell or buy clothes. They can use a mobile app to sell clothes locally, low cost market, and low cost in advertising. That helps helps the company to save money. It's a low cost to individuals with travel time, and save time to purchase goods that the goods brought to their house, like through the mail or UPS or FedEx. The next product will be smartphone platforms to allow people to communicate immediately about traffic, crime events, and other information, and well as tracking they could download the apps of their favorite stuff. They can work offline when users have paired their phones together, similar to text message is sent. They can get updates on location and time, arrivals. It fills a gap needs concern available products in Mexico. It could provide Amber alerts, many different alerts for families. It could tell the future. It could tell your loved ones that if he or she is going to be 2 hours late, economic status, it'll be the price was right for a majority of the population to access it at low cost. That means more money into the company's pocket and low advertising costs. Social assets, but people trying their circles to the point, cause conflict. Social media outlets like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat to keep in touch with their friends. And the product is very common, and families will share real-time information to their loved ones, aunts, and uncles. I believe this is a great product for individuals to buy. It will increase a demand of a profit margin, and the future, and the company can make a lot of money on smart phones because everyone needs phones to communicate with their loved ones or with businesses.
A final business idea would be introducing electric scooters into Mexico. Electric scooters provide for customers easy transportation, time with family, and low-cost travel, which are important things for the people in Mexico. For us as a company, they would provide us with low purchasing costs, as purchasing the scooters and placing them on the streets have low cost, and we would only need a small team to continue to run the service. This service would provide an opportunity for people to ride around the town and visit places that they haven't seen and do it easily and at their own comfort without having to hire vehicles or take taxis or Ubers to get around. In conclusion, after looking at the information we have provided and offering the 3 business ideas, we can see that Mexico and the United States have their own set of perks. Doing business in Mexico has benefits, but businesses may not see these benefits financially impact right away. Both countries are thriving in their own way. Both countries are growing and are stable. Research and understanding of the ins and outs of doing business in Mexico will help ensure a right decision in a business transaction.